Okay, it is time to start working with our side straps. And you want to make sure that you are aware which side is stabilized and which side is not, because one of these ends is not stabilized. So I'm going to put these two down side by side with the wrong sides facing up. And this end is the stabilized end. This end is unstabilized. So we're going to make 3 marks on the back side of each side strap. And they're going to be the same for the day bag as they are for the handbag. So we're going to do 2 inches away from the stabilized end and just make a little mark there on the wrong side. Another mark 3.5 inches away from the stabilized end. Make another mark. And then we're going to make a mark that is 1 3/4 inches away from the unstabilized end. So the other end. And again, this is the same measurements for the day bag size as it is for the handbag size. So I'm not sure if you can see, we've got this mark, and this mark here. Next, we are going to add a piece of double-sided tape from the stabilized end up to that 2-inch mark that we made, which was the very first mark that we made. So right up to that mark that we made on the stabilized end. Then we're going to retrieve 2 of our D-rings and slip them onto the stabilized end. And next we're going to remove the paper from the DST and fold the end down to meet that 2-inch mark. Okay. The D-ring did not get caught in this fold. It's still on the free end of the side strap. And we're going to fold both of those ends down to meet the 2-inch mark that we drew. And next, again with the double-sided tape, we're going to put a small bit of double-sided tape right over that folded portion of the strap, just like that. And then removing the paper from the tape, we are going to fold over the D-ring and align the fold with that 3.5-inch mark, and just kind of like wiggle everything around so that it lays flat. And I did want to point out that there's a small bit of space above the end of the side strap where the D-ring can sit. So nothing is bunched up. It's all sitting very flat because the D-ring has its own space in here, and that's very important. So we're going to do the same thing to this one. Just fold over the D-ring and line up the fold of the side strap to the 3.5-inch mark and stick that down, making sure all the side edges are aligned. There we go. Next, we are going to mark 2 holes for rivets on both of these side straps. So you're going to measure 3/8 of an inch above this fold right here. 3/8 of an inch above the fold. And then 1/4 of an inch away from each side of the side strap, we're going to mark a dot. 1/4 of an inch away from the side. So 3/8 of an inch up from this fold here, and 1/4 of an inch away from the side, and 1/4 of an inch away from this side. We've got our 2 dots there for rivets, and we're going to repeat that on the other side strap. We are now going to punch these holes for rivets, and I just want to stress how important it is to punch straight through. So checking your back and your front and punch straight through. Do the same on this side. Okay, now we have 2 holes for rivets there. And we're going to do the same on the other strap. Okay, on the opposite end of the side strap, we're going to install a D-ring on one of these straps and a swivel clasp on the other strap. So on this one, I'm going to put a D-ring and I'm going to fold the end down. This is the unstabilized end to meet that 1 3/4 inch mark that we made. And I'm just going to punch a hole for a rivet by eyeballing. With these stitches that run parallel to the center of the strap, it's pretty easy to get your rivet hole centered. And I am going to set a rivet right through there. So now we have an attached D-ring to our side strap. Okay, that D-ring is now secured. And we're going to do the same thing with the swivel clasp. All right, this is what our 2 side straps look like now. And we are going to retrieve our bag so that we can install these. Now we are going to unstick this fold that we have stuck down right here on the side of the side strap that doesn't have any rivets yet. And we're going to place that fold over the side of the bag, just like that, so that the long part of the side strap is inside the bag and the short part is outside the bag. Now there's a couple things you want to keep track of here. You want the side seam of the bag to fall in between the 2 sets of stitches that you made, and that's how you know that this is centered. And you also want to make sure that the D-ring still has its space to sit above the edge of the bag. And since there's still double-sided tape on this, it should adhere to the exterior of the bag pretty well and hold it in place for you while you mark your rivet placement. So take a pen or some sort of marking tool that'll mark on the outside of your bag and put the tip of the pen through each of the 2 rivet holes and then check to see if you marked on your bag, and I did. So I can show you here, we've got our 2 rivet holes, and that's where I am going to be punching the holes for my rivets. And I'm going to do that really quick here. So make sure that you're punching straight through. And then again, if you have cotton as your liner, you're going to want to add a drop of fray check to your rivet hole. To keep that from fraying. Now this is the part of the pattern where you might want to use longer rivets, like 10mm rivets, because of the thickness of your material. Sometimes you may be using a thinner material that won't require the 10mm rivets, but this is probably going to be a section where you would need longer rivets. Okay, so put 2 rivets through the holes in the side strap and then put the rivets through the holes in your bag. Okay, so you see the rivets are coming through there, and make sure that the D-ring is slid down to be captured within the fold of the side strap. And then lastly, feed the rivets through the holes on the inside of the straps. There we go. So I'm using cork for my straps, and I'm using a fairly thin exterior vinyl and a fairly thin, regular weight cotton for the liner. And I did have to use 10mm rivets for this part. So just giving you a gauge of what you might encounter with your own materials. So I put those rivets on and I'm gonna go press those now. All right, those are pressed. So our side seam on this side is now complete, and we will do the same steps for this side. So I'm going to show that to you one more time. Unstick this folded edge and place it over the side of the bag, making sure that the long part of the strap goes inside the bag and the short part goes outside. Line up the side seam of the bag in between the stitches so you know that it's centered, and make sure that the D-ring has its space above the top of the bag. Kind of stick it down with the DST that's left, and put a pen through the rivet holes. Check to make sure you drew on the bag, and I did. And punch those holes. Fray check the cotton. All right, and next we are going to add the rivets to our side strap, but just the part that's going to be on the outside of the bag. And I am using 10mm rivets for this part, the large size rivets, okay? So just through that part. And then we're going to feed those rivets through the hole in the exterior of the bag all the way through. Okay, make sure your D-ring is up top here, and then feed the rivets through the holes in the strap on this side. I highly recommend getting a press to press your rivets, especially for this step, because these rivets need to be extra secure. All right, our side straps are both complete, and the next step of the pattern is to attach the flaps.